Good morning, agents. This is Dr. Eric Castleberry, Associate Professor and Program Director of Communication, Media, and Ethics at Mid-America Christian University. And I'm here with our Week 4 video discussion prompt for COM 2113, Media Culture and Social Influence. Throughout the course, we have been exposed to a number of key terms, theories, and perspectives that have to do with a couple of intersecting areas, and they're oftentimes highlighted in Arthur Asa Berger's Messages, an Introduction to Communication, which is fantastic text, not only for this course and our context, but also the major, because Berger does a great job of demonstrating the, let me use this term again, intersectionality between the field of communication or communication studies and the discipline of media studies. And this is an opportunity for us to understand how multiple disciplines share significant overlap in their ideas. And increasingly, the more technology plays a role in our lives, the better off we are at understanding these intersections and gaining the language necessary to tackle challenges we face today and into the future. There is an excerpt from our Messages reading this week where Berger talks about or uses a phrase that definitely stands out to students quite frequently. And the phrase that he uses is he refers to signs, or rather refers that writes that signs lie to us. And before we can kind of unpack what it means, how in the world signs can lie to us, we first must understand what signs do for us and how we use signs to kind of represent reality in the world. And so, as a different theorist, Kenneth Burke, would say, humans are both symbol users and symbol used, right? That is to say, we're creatures that use language and sign systems like tools to help us communicate and facilitate communication in the world around us. And we do this all the time. Signs represent the backbone of our kind of interworking society, right? If you leave your house right now, and should you, right? But if you leave your house right now, and you're out driving around, signs are directing many of your moves, right? You're not just kind of like blazing through an open field or crashing through a storefront window, we hope, but rather you're following the directions. You're staying in a particular lane. You're moving in a uniform direction, typically, that is guided by signs. These are symbol systems that organize our world. But we have other signs too, and that's where it really gets fun. And that's where the spy genre can come in handy as well. And these types of signs are what we call cultural signs, right? And so just like communication, just like that communication process and how we're both sending and receiving information, but also in understanding how that information it occurs simultaneously, but there's interference or noise, or our process of decoding those signs can lead to a misinterpretation or an alternative interpretation of the communication that was originally sent. All right. And so signs are meant to help us. They shape reality for us so that we're communicating ideally with clarity, with honesty, with integrity. But we know that's not always the case. We're complex creatures, right? We're flawed. And sometimes our intent is to present one sign and perhaps be leaning toward an alternative. And this is where we get to this fun phrase about this understanding that signs lie to us, all right? And so this is where we're going to get into a bit of a challenge, all right? It's going to require a little bit of critical thinking, which is great because working on our critical thinking skills is what one of our educational outcomes we're helping students process in a communication major. So I assume I've set up enough of a foreshadow now that we can see where this is heading. For our week 4 video discussion prompt, I want you all to think about an example where signs lie to us. All right? Ooh, how do signs lie to us? What's an example of this? And so we want to hear about a concrete example, meaning something very specific. Try to be rich and descriptive in your language, in your response. And that's going to help us better understand what you mean by that, right? Don't just give us the example, explain the example to us of signs lying to us. And, and this is where I fall back on the spy genre as an easy learning tool, right? What is an Agent 007, but an intentionally covert, sometimes overt sign that is projecting one thing and intending something else. Let's look at a base example, all right? So we just completed our midterm analysis, or at least we should have. And within the analysis, many of you all are comparing a pair of James Bond texts, or at least an earlier one with a more contemporary spy text, right? And the whole purpose is that it's a cross-textual analysis, that we're comparing two different cultural eras of media production, because the signs of these texts will be different depending on the era in which it was produced. Because, as I alluded to cultural signs before, signs change over time, right? If they are cultural signs, especially. Anyway, we can think about the context of James Bond sitting down in a casino to play some sort of game of Vice, right? So not that Vice, but the traditional casino type of Vice. One of the strongest examples that comes to mind is the original, not the original Casino Royale, but the Daniel Craig Casino Royale that was his first Bond. And this film builds up to a kind of semi-climax that takes place all around this game of, I believe it's Texas Hold'em, right? That's a retcon, right, from what was originally used in the novel. But here we have a high stakes game, and this idea of poker and the poker tell and the poker face, right? Tell signs and poker faces. These are about using signs to lie, right? You're wanting to save face, project one type of symbolic nonverbal communication to help protect your ability to win. All right, so there's an instance of signs lie to us. Let's think about this classical depiction of Bond walking into a room in the tuxedo format, right? So he's in formal attire, very sort of, we use these words, maybe we describe like suave, or I'm thinking of Rico Suave, but suave dress, very, very polished, clean shaven and so on. And what is this doing? It's projecting a kind of formalism. It's projecting a kind of maybe upper class aristocracy, which in the British sense would be very diplomatic, right? Or and certain above reproach. But what is Bond? What is Agent 007? He has a license to kill, right? And so we understand this is a man of means, like a man of violent outbursts on occasion. And so to break that code, to suddenly go into a violent act, whereas he was previously in this formal attire, is a swerve, right? He is a walking sign, and he is lying to us, right? He's lowering the concerns with that formal attire, only to snap right at the instant of necessity and act out in a certain way. So already there are 2 examples we can see from a series within the spy genre where it is commonplace for signs to lie to us. Now, those are fictional texts, of course, and in fact, we have many everyday uses of signs and symbols in our lives, of which signs do in fact lie to us, or maybe we use signs to kind of mask or covert or conceal certain communication. So your mission this week is to come up with a concrete example and explain it to us, how it works, how this instance of signs do in fact lie to us. I look forward to these clandestine ideas from you all, and this is going to be a very rich discussion that we have in COM 2113, Media Culture and Social Influence. Thank you.